Game of fucking Thrones. Game of fucking Thrones.
Season 3, episode 2, 3, episode 3. Season 3, episode 3. A Walk of Punishment, Game of Thrones. We were just, Ben, Gina, John, Cenk, we were just talking, and I guess I thought that not much happened yesterday, and that's one thing I loved about it. It struck me, Gina has seen The Sopranos more than anyone in America. She's on her 8th run. This last episode struck me as similar to a Sopranos episode, where this tremendous amount of tension is built up without very much action. A lot of talking.
That's interesting, because I actually got that sense in episode 2, and I didn't love it. I was like, this is Game of fucking Thrones. Like, somebody murder someone already, okay? For Christ's sake, what are we doing here, right? And then episode 3, I started to feel that halfway through, but then all of a sudden it started to pick up. And look, here's the thing, right? I've come up with this new acronym, VIMS. Okay, here's what shows need, right? If they're a drama, they need violence, intrigue, mystery, and sex. Now, Game of Thrones has all 4. That's why it's a grand slam home run. Okay, right. Okay, so
Smith.
Or Smith, either way, right? So now the thing is, so there wasn't a lot of violence. Like, nobody went to war in the first 2.5 episodes, and I'm a little bummed about that. Or I didn't see battles, etc. But at least I need intrigue. I need someone where I go, oh damn, I didn't think about that. I see you, Tyrion. Okay. But of course, at the end of this, like, they Game of Thrones me. They Game of Thrones me. I didn't see it coming. You know why, Ben? Just to your point. They lulled me to sleep. I'm like, this now. Well, see, they can cut his hand. Oh, Jesus, they cut his hand. I can't believe it.
And cue the Dropkick Murphys or whatever. And all of a sudden,
like the bear song.
Yeah.
I
love that song.
Okay,
that was sweet.
So obviously, anybody watching this, you've already seen the episode. You gotta, that's the spoiler thing. Obviously, everybody's familiar with that. So Jaime Lannister's hand gets cut off at the end. And again, I couldn't quite believe it, because I thought Jaime Lannister's the Kingslayer. He's gonna be a pivotal character. I mean, Game of Thrones not forever, but for a long time. But if he lost his hand, he's done for.
Yeah, but he's a pretty boy, and he's kind of a sharp-tongued dude. And I never, even though they call him the Kingslayer, and I get it, I always feel like it's a little smirky. Like, it's not because he's so heroic and he's such a great swordsman. He was a little shit.
And he stabbed him in the back.
Yeah, oh no, Kingslayer is definitely a little ironic. Yeah. But nonetheless, it's such a cool name that you can't help but respect the name, even if it's smirky. Yeah. That people are like, oh, like when the big chick fought him, and you talked about it in the last episode, John. You're like, that's the Kingslayer. And she's like, wait a minute, that was a Kingslayer? That wasn't so bad.
He stabbed him in the back. It's not.
Well, he's weak from being imprisoned for months and months, and his hands were tied together.
No, but Gina's right. It's kind of a
little bitch.
Right.
But he's supposed to be one of the best swordsmen.
Supposed to be.
In the 7 planets or whatever it is.
How great is he? He beat Ned when he had 30 guys helping him out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they didn't really help him, and Ned's a badass, or was.
Ned's a soldier. He's not really a swordsman. Like, he's never about his one-on-one combat.
You're getting just a tad too geeky, but I hear you.
We keep hearing from Jaime about he does have all these victories in battle, but we still significantly, I think, have never.
No. One last thing on that, because it's not fair. Because remember, during when they captured him, that they said something like he'd taken down 30 men or 4 men by himself. Remember, he killed the sons of one of the lords, etc.
Nonetheless, I'm just saying, we actually haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's like watching Lincoln again. Like, I'd like to hear all about the Civil War without never actually looking through a window. And that's how I feel about Jaime.
He killed Jory Cassell, the guy that was with Ned. He put the dagger through his eye, like, contemptuously just knocks this guy's sword aside early on.
That's true. And the fight with Ned was the one sense that he was. That's
a cold-blooded killer.
But what I think the rehabilitation of Jaime as a character that you forget and is remarkable.
Yeah.
Because
that's a great point.
I mean, this is a guy, aside from forget fucking his sister, because whatever. I get that.
But whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You get one.
Right.
Everybody gets one.
And to be fair, she was pretty hot.
She was hot, but he pushed Bram out the window.
That's true.
Lest we forget, he almost killed a child.
He's one of the worst people in any world. Right.
So that's the amazing part.
He's one of the worst men in all the 7 kingdoms.
Right. But that's the amazing part. It's exactly what I was thinking about. Here's a guy what was his cousin or something that they had sent into his cell, you remember?
Yes.
And he murdered that guy just for a slight convenience, right? Yeah. For a 10% better chance of escaping. And I thought, that's weird. 2 things. One, he's defending the giant lady, what's her name?
Brienne.
Brienne, of Tarth, right? And I was like, that's a tiny bit human. But what's amazing is that when they cut his hand, I felt bad for him.
Yeah, right.
I realized at that moment that I was rooting for Jaime Lannister, even though
didn't
that
know
makes
it.
no sense.
No, totally. You're rooting for him even before he goes through her father is the Earl of Tarth or whatever. Don't correct me. Save yourself.
The Earl of Tarth.
Right.
You know.
And then he'd pay a king's ransom to get his daughter back. My hunch is that might even be made up. That whole thing.
Yeah.
And partly that's even before that when they're tied together, he's already given her advice. Like he's already looking out for her.
Right.
And I think it's totally, to juxtapose to Theon Greyjoy, if I might, I feel like we always have to root for him, and he sucks.
Yep,
He's
right.
the worst. And he keeps getting away, and he keeps being saved. I'm like, why are you saving this fool?
Totally.
See, that's interesting, because I was trying to think of which character in Game of Thrones that I don't like, right? Which, even though they're all so despicable and violent, etc.
Allen is the worst.
Okay, no. Who?
That's his name.
the
It's
actor
Lily
who plays-
Allen's
Oh,
brother.
okay. So,
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
So number one, obviously the one character we all despise and want dead immediately in a most violent and horrific way is Joffrey, right? So Joffrey's, and Theon I would put at half. I'd put it 1.5. Like Theon, I'd like to see him killed. He's a really bad. And besides which, I don't like him because I don't respect him. I think he's a clown. So I'm looking forward to his.
And that's why you, in your weird way of going through life, like sort of you don't put Tywin Lannister in that group.
That's right.
Right, when Tywin Lannister is the worst person in the planet.
That's right.
The worst person there is.
Absolutely.
I'd
Right,
rather
but
see
because-
Theon killed.
Because you respect his strength.
Yeah.
I respect Tywin. I don't respect Theon.
So you would respect Hitler, you would respect Stalin.
No, but I do respect Dick Cheney.
What I like, my final point about the Jaime Lannister thing is that you see him sort of like working it through in his mind. Should I defend Brienne? Should I put my neck out for her? I feel like I'm changing in some way. And I guess the writers are like, that's not abrupt enough. Let's also chop off his hand. Like a physical change to go along with the slight mental and emotional change.
I don't want you to spiral out of control in talking about the books. In case you haven't figured
I'm trying
it out.
not
John is
to.
an expert. Do they cut his hand off in the books?
Yes, they do. And I was worried that they would not in the TV show.
Right. You know what I realized about John and what I think he's so great about? He's like a dictionary and thesaurus of Game of Thrones. And I was thinking, okay, so what?
But the dictionary thesaurus that opens itself.
But then I was like, but so what, right? I have a whole internet. And then I was like, that's why John is so critical. That's why he's Jon Snow Idarola. He's critical to this enterprise. It's because if you go on the internet to find out about Game of Thrones, you have jackasses who can't wait to destroy for, all the Starks die, all the Baratheons die, all the Lannisters die, not you! So John is like Game of Thrones dictionary without being a dick, right?
Parts
Without
of it markered
looting
out until you want it unmarkered.
Right, exactly.
Great scene, I thought, really one of the best scenes in the show's history, and it's filled with great scenes, was when the council meeting, whatever they call
amazing.
it. When Tywin calls that, and
Musical
he's got the
chairs.
small council, and then what's the woman's name?
Cersei.
Cersei and Tyrion mess with the chairs, and that extra moments that they let Tyrion, and that final, he's in, and he's like,
Cozy room.
yeah.
You know, that's why it's such a great show, because it's so smart. That's him saying, yeah, I know, I'm the imp. Ha ha ha, like I'm the short guy, I have to drag the chair, but nonetheless, I'm gonna sit at the other head of the table while you suckasses try to get closer and closer to power. I'm actually gonna establish power right here.
In an equal position to some extent.
Right,
Exactly.
Right, an equal position, and but Cersei too, she's like, I'm not sitting fourth behind these freaking yutzes.
And she probably didn't want to sit next to Tyrion as well.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Tyrion thing, the great move in the small council is when Tywin is going to send, Littlefinger to the.
I had to watch that scene. I rewound that 3 times to figure out what complicated math.
I'm
make it
so
clear.
immersed
They
in
didn't make
Game
it
of
clear.
Thrones that I even got that without rewinding.
You knew it was
the
Lady
Ire and the
Stark's
crazy
sister?
lady.
Yeah, I
But that's partly because I read the first book.
Oh,
okay.
Baby breastfeed.
Yeah. Like the breastfeeding 12-year-old and stuff.
Right.
So, and so he sits there for like half a second, like, no, I'm gonna let him die. Because when Littlefinger goes to the Ire, he stands at least a 50% chance of dying.
From her insanity.
For her insanity and the
Sky cells.
the sky cells, the whole thing.
See him fly.
Yeah, exactly. And look,
so
I mean,
horrible.
Tyrion
Child of
had to
corn.
come up with every trick in the book and get really lucky to get out of there with his life in his
Yeah.
hands, right?
Yeah.
And now we're going to see how clever Littlefinger is. Because, I mean, that is a death trap if there has ever been a death trap.
He sounds like Jack Donaghy in 30 Rock when he talks. He has the menace whisper in nearly every sentence that comes out of his mouth.
He does, but you know what? That's why I actually don't think that guy's a great actor. To put a downer on this for a second. I love The Wire.
He's the mayor of Baltimore. What are you talking
I know,
about?
and he was, I never thought he was good in The Wire. I thought he was the
Wire?
He was the only
He's the mayor
actor.
of Baltimore in The Wire.
Yeah, he's the white guy. He's Martin O'Malley.
Yeah. Martin O'Malley.
He's the guy that they based it on.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
he's the one actor that to me was like scratching a record in The Wire, which is my favorite show of all time. Along Game of Thrones and Wire, I haven't decided what's 1 and 2 yet, and he's in both of them. And in both of them, he's like, "I am Littlefinger." I'm like, "Who are you?" Okay, we got that already. You don't have to talk that way.
Well, really fast on his cleverness. What I liked was they had much of the whole Master of Coin thing. It probably seems like totally unnecessary.
Like wah treasurer.
Exactly. Oh, he's a treasurer. Like, why are they going into these details? But they reveal that Littlefinger's not nearly as clever as
Right.
everybody's thought he was. That he's just borrowing the money. He's not actually investing well. And I mean, it's kind of stupid and it's about money, but I think that it's interesting that they're introducing a non-military threat to power. Like that the bankers might be a problem.
This is why I love the second half of this episode, right? The first half, again, we're setting up, and there's value in that. But in the second half, so first I was surprised that Tyrion didn't want to be the treasurer. Treasurer is enormous power. You control the money, you control a ton of power, right?
Yeah.
So, but then he gets it. Like once he starts
once
looking
he got
through the
it,
books,
he's
he's like, oh, right, power, money, yes, okay. But then the introduction of the all-powerful bankers, right? What are they called? The bankers?
The Iron Bank of Bravos.
How funny is that? The Iron Bank of Bravos, and it turns
Does
out.
it bother you that you don't need to refer to a note at all?
Look, there's tons of questions you could ask me that I would not remember.
Oh,
the answer
sure,
to.
sure.
You just haven't yet.
You're like, Zion Bank of Bravos, I have a CD there.
But they won't let me get it out unless there's a penalty if you get it out early. Okay, anyway, so it turns out even in Game of fucking Thrones with the dragons and the wildlings and all
still
this
all about
stuff, still
proper
the most
investing.
powerful thing is the goddamn Iron Bank.
Can we
right?
quickly talk about Craster? Craster, right?
Craster?
Craster, the man who bangs his daughters and kills his sons.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
what the fuck?
Well, I want to get into
What the flick?
Let's get into that and a couple things that I think are going to happen. Like, because that's sort of interesting. Like, I think that Marmont, right?
Jorah over with Daenerys?
No, the dad.
the
The dad,
father.
the
chief.
men of the Night Watch, right?
Yeah.
They're going to kill that guy. Like, that's coming. That guy's
You're gonna kill Craster.
That'd be great.
Craster's death is imminent, whether it's because Sam saves that male, it was a male child, right?
Right.
Whether Sam saves that
Oh,
male
2.5. I don't mind Craster dying.
Right, you're okay with the guy who gives his maleborn sons to the beast.
She can
Right.
bite down on a rag or
Yeah.
bite down on my fist.
So I think that's coming. I think that I think he's definitely going to do it, and I think that we also have to be seeing then post that at some point as the army on the outside of the wall brings us toward the wall, right? That alliance is so obvious that it has to happen.
What alliance?
The alliance between the men of the Night Watch and the army outside the wall.
And the wildlings. So it's funny because before we
I
even
can't
saw
say
them,
wildlings. I have to say army outside the wall.
I didn't even know who you were talking about. Wildly.
So even before we saw the wildlings, I liked the wildlings because they were free and they were badasses. Although I always thought that the crow killed them a little too easily. Like whenever they got anywhere near Jon Snow's uncle, who might still be alive, who's out there somewhere, right? Would just be like, oh, I killed 10 of them, everything's fine, right? And I'm like, well, come on. And I always wanted Mance Rayder to be a badass. You're right. I mean, the fact that they haven't gotten together yet is so irrational.
Right.
Because this unbelievable force is bearing down on both of them. My God, the Night Watchmen should be like, wildlings, where are you? Help, SOS.
And they're all
right?
the same people. They're all outsiders.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
all outcasts. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a...
Just bear in mind that like we now have seen, the White Walkers and the Whites and stuff, but up until a year before the show starts, people thought it was just myths and legends. Like they don't believe that that's real. But the wildlings come past the wall, they steal women and bring them back, they steal crops. Like that's a real threat, whereas the other one's sort of a legendary
I got
source.
that it's
Love
gonna, I mean, and once that alliance is made, I presume that if I were writing it, then there would be further tension as the men of as the Night Watchmen That's not right. As those guys,
Crows.
as the crows then have to convince people in the kingdoms that these guys are okay.
Yeah.
That they're vouching
but,
for.
But,
That they're-
but
right.
that's realistic to life because people are way too slow to adjust. I mean, they'll see something obvious, but they're like, that's not how I do things,
Yeah.
and they won't adjust. But to me, like, whenever, like, they say, like, if Jesus comes back, would you believe? Of course, the split second he came back, I'd be like, yes, Lord, what do you need me to do, right? Because the situation has changed. Apparently, I was wrong, right? So, like, yes, they didn't believe in the White Walkers until you saw them,
Right.
Yeah.
and they created the army of zombies, in which case I go, wildlings, where the fuck are you?
And
We need a little help down here.
And the MC Escher horse situation.
Horsehead spiral
Yeah.
galaxy.
Oh, so what is that? That's the White Walkers being like artists? That's
I guess, like after you've killed
Like
everybody,
crop
and then you're just like,
circles.
oh, this place sucks. It's really, really cold. You need to build something.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is one great thing about the show that I don't know if it's this way in the books, but I love that it's this magical, mythical place with all of these crazy things, and yet they refer to a time where it was even more magical. Like, oh, we don't have dragons. Oh, that was way
Well,
earlier.
I want to give John a little bit of credit there because you changed the way I saw that completely. You remember the thing that I could, like, Anna and I had trouble with was the Vagine monster, right? The one that comes out of the fire ladies.
Sandra.
She had a
right.
good episode. Like she
did.
became a more credible character and a more identifiable
Right,
character.
and a more complicated
Yeah,
character.
more complicated character.
Right, so you explained that when the dragons come back, which I didn't know, that magic becomes stronger. And I was like, oh, dude, I get it. That's why the dreams of the little Stark are getting more vivid. He can see into the future more.
Wow.
That's why all the magic, including the Vagine monster lady, is stronger. Everything is stronger. And then I'm like, at least it's logically consistent within itself,
Does
right?
Vagine Monster know that's why?
I don't know. That's a great question. And if they know, they must be like, oh, my magic's getting stronger. The
dragons
flip
right on
side
top.
is, forget winter. The dragons are coming, right?
Well, they did give some indication of that at the end of the last season when the warlocks took Daenerys.
Purple lips.
He said something to the effect of, "Oh, now we have real magic."
Right,
Like
right.
they'd been pretending for so long.
Right, but
Like party
right,
tricks.
right, you can't. From a TV viewer could never draw that.
Yeah.
No, I think
But it's
he
okay.
had a line, I think, to that
It's okay.
effect.
It's
But anyway,
it's
yeah.
okay as long as they tell us at
No,
some
that's
point.
why John's important. That's
Yeah.
why Jon Snow, Idarola is critical.
One more prediction. No way Daenerys gives up one of her dragons.
The biggest dragon.
She's gonna.
Drogon.
She's gonna.
So, okay,
How
so
could
that's...
the biggest dragon is named Drogon?
It's named after her dead former
I
husband.
know, but the biggest dragon has one word letter changed from dragon. And that's his name.
And then the second big one
guess
is
that's true.
Dragona.
Yeah, I mean, come on, right?
Little one's dragon.
So
No way. She's gonna
so
kill.
that scene is the thing that's super critical that we also have to talk about. To me, I was a little frustrated that everybody didn't get it. Like, I'm like, well, here she is negotiating with these guys. She obviously doesn't have enough money.
Right.
What's she gonna do? The only thing she has is the dragons. So she's either going to A, give them one of the dragons, or B, burn the fucking place down. Right?
and we now know.
Okay, so now the thing is, so she's smarter than all of them, and the fact that none of them understood that.
Don't you think she speaks Valerian root?
No, I don't. I don't know if she does.
I think she knew
but
everything.
that's why she's such a cool character because she's smarter and braver than the rest of them. Buying the interpreter was a genius
Yeah.
move. That one I
Yeah.
didn't even think about until they're walking back. I'm like, oh, the interpreter knows all their secrets.
Yeah.
That's such a genius move.
I saw it as her bailing, as her bailing out the interpreter. You're probably right, but I saw it as a move of bailing out the interpreter
it's both.
because she's like, I know what they're saying. I know
Yeah.
what this woman is doing. This woman is actually being incredibly professional
Yeah.
in a world
Great
of
role.
non-professionals, and I'm
Absolutely.
going to go get her.
Yeah, and so look, my thinking on her is, first of all, she's right? First of all, if her advisor is right, and all you need is 3 dragons, and any one dragon is more important than any army, then you don't need an army. Just go in with your 3
Right.
dragons and conquer the kingdom. But it's actually not true. 2 dragons will do it anyway. You actually need men on the ground. You need boots on the ground.
Yeah.
So she's right, even if she doesn't screw them over.
You can't win just an air war.
Yeah, exactly. You need boots on the ground. So strategically, she's right. And then second of all, you got to think at some point, they're going to be able to keep that dragon. It's the same thing with the warlocks or the guys that thought, okay, our magic is back. Yeah, but so is her dragons. Like, you really thought you were going to keep the lady with the dragons in a chain? That's what you thought?
Yeah, get some plexiglass or something between you and the
They're not
dragons.
gonna be able to keep that
I don't
dragon.
even think that. I don't think they're going to keep it. I don't think she's going to let him have a moment to keep it. I think that they all burn in a fiery hell, and then they all just leave with the 8,300 soldiers and
That
the dragon.
love killing babies.
Right.
Have such a heart, well, not a heart on, but have such a lust to kill babies.
Unless they're told not to.
Right,
In which case,
yeah,
in which
then
case,
Which is
that's
nice.
fine.
don't kill any babies.
Yeah. Sit around and knit a tea cozy.
We got to go, but did you like, you must have liked, you probably already liked Robb, but you must have liked Robb more for his public dressing down of the general, like of his guy. Because that was a moment of like, no, we don't just need to be stronger, we need to be smarter, and I told you that, and you didn't pay attention.
Right.
So
and that's actually his uncle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Right.
Admiral Tully.
Yeah, and so that's what I liked most about it. Not just that he told him, hey, you're an idiot, etc., but he's like, I don't care if you're my uncle and you're my, and all this stuff. I'm the king, and so you listen to me, you moron, right? So yeah, I really
But also,
like
it wasn't just that you listen to me. It wasn't just about asserting his responsibility. He was right.
Right.
He was like, I don't want the freaking mill.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I wanted him to follow us because he's dumb, and I'm in his head, and I know he's dumb, and he would have followed us, which is what I told you to do.
Yeah.
Right.
I really like that scene. As a reader, this is not any kind of spoiler. You have multiple in the books, you have multiple points of view that you see the world from. And one weird choice that he made is that Robb was never one of them. Like, Robb would be off doing stuff, and you'd see it through Catelyn's eyes or something like that. But you'd never see it from his point of view. And so I always found it hard to buy that he's this great military commander and everything, because he's 15 in the books. But that scene made me respect him in a way that I never did from the
He's
books.
15 in the books, and they made him.
He's like 18, 19.
Yeah,
when they
so
made
the
him
books,
show.
everybody's way younger, right?
Yeah,
It
like
just
Arya's
seems
like 8.
Like the
in the
problem
books.
with it putting that in a TV show is that it seems pervy, because not only is there the violence
pervy.
and
Daenerys is
unrealistic
12.
to our eyes,
Yeah.
etc., but the kids are too young to be having that kind of sex.
Yeah.
Last thing for me, two very sweet scenes I thought were really great. The Arya and hot pie. Just
Oh,
that
yeah,
moment of
hot
eating
pie.
it, and it's really good. It's really good, and he smiles and he feels fulfilled. It was great. And of course, Bronn. I remember his name now. Bronn and Tyrion talking to Pot and finding out, what is up with this guy's penis.
Which
When they after he gets the whores to. have
Oh,
sex,
yeah, the magic
When
penis,
they're
the
like,
gold penis
then he's
made of gold.
Then he's like, all right, get the wine.
Yeah, that was great.
We gotta break this down.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, the hot pie moment was, here's what went through my head. So that guy, of all people, didn't die.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, what is it with the fat guys that somehow survive everything?
But he must be, in a sense, that you got to give him credit. He's like, this world of traipsing through the forest.
Not for me.
This is not for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay here and cook.
yeah, there's a little
and be able
shelter,
to eat and sleep
you know?
under a roof.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
absolutely.
This is going to work out better.
With the whole Podric thing, I think I believe a smoke monster coming out of someone's vagina before I believe that those 3 whores did not expect payment from that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, because also, by the way, it's not up to the whores in a whorehouse if you pay them. I think Littlefinger will want that money.
Yeah, so
Before he
yeah.
dies
But it was
in
a
the
cute
ire.
scene.
Still a cute scene.
Exactly.
Can I address that as a female? I think that what probably happened, since he was so green and didn't really know, he was probably like, well, I'm supposed to serve them, ? Which doesn't happen to whores, I would assume, very
maybe.
often.
Right.
So they got really excited about that.
Okay,
Continue.
It's a good theory. I like it.
Thank you
Right.
very much.
All right. Okay, all right. So I thought a great episode.
Great. Yeah, we're back.
All right, we're back. Oh, you didn't like it because I was not here last week. You didn't love episode 2.
Well, I was sick too, but episode 2, I thought, let's get on with it. Give me at least more intrigue. Give me more clever plotting.
And there's action coming.
And
Yeah.
I
obviously.
appreciated this episode because it put the brakes on some of that stuff so I could actually catch up, because my brain doesn't fire that fast. I'm watching with the interactive, I have an iPad in front of me with some wiki shit. So just to be able to sort of pump the brakes a little bit, let me catch up and let me figure out what's going on, I thought it was really helpful.
Wikipedia is so, on Game of Thrones, it's like the most useful research tool in America.
Got to do it.
And they're
Yeah.
good about controlling the spoilers
Yeah.
on individual pages too.
All right, great. Next week we'll be here again for episode 4. Fire in the hole.
That's actually from Justin.
Right, no, it's not what it is. All right, thanks.